everybody in our public to tonight's meeting. If you all would stand, let's have the Pledge to Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Annie, are you able to hear us okay?
Yeah, I am. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So next on our agenda is the adoption of our agenda, item number 4. If someone would make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda, there are 2 changes. Do we need to go over that in the adoption?
Just one change on the agenda and then one on a motion.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll make,
Well, hey,
What is the change on the agenda?
the change is for item 11A.
That's right. Thank you.
11A says suspension of policy BGB for the period of time the board addresses, and that should be item 11B. So there should be a Roman numeral 1 after the Roman numeral 10.
say it one more time.
It's suspension of policy BGB for the period of time the board addresses. 11B is what it should be
Okay.
instead of 10B.
Would you like to make that motion, Sharon?
Yes. I move to adopt the agenda as presented,
With the
with a change of item 10B. Is that right? 11B.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Annie, are you in favor of
Aye.
adoption? Perfect.
Call to the public is next. Would any of our public? All right, thank you. Moving on. Item number 6, our information and discussion. First up is our superintendent's report. Mr.
All right,
Schmidt.
I have 3 items that are not on the memo, but that I want to add. One is today I accepted a check from Sparklight, and they donated $1,100 to the district. We were one of 7 districts in their Prescott region that was awarded the money from their philanthropy through Sparklight, and that just went into the district account. And we're kind of trying to decide what exactly we're going to use it for. It didn't have any purpose from Sparklight, so we could use it for whatever we wanted. And so we accepted that. That should be on, I've already written a thank you note to them that should go in the mail tomorrow. And it should go also on Facebook. And then we sent the pictures to Sparklight, so hopefully it'll be on their promotion, however they want to promote that. But we truly appreciate them and thank them for being a community partner to the district. The next bit of news is that the governing board election, which was to happen in November if we had enough candidates, is going to be canceled tomorrow. And as I mentioned before, Annie Mortensen and Mike Fogel are 2 candidates that filled out the paperwork that are, did the petitions and everything. We have 1 more candidate that filed as a write-in candidate, and no one else filed for a write-in candidate, so he is in automatically, and that would be Peter Atona. So Peter is going to be the 3rd person to fill the 3rd seat that's available, and there won't need to be an election to do that, and he will serve a 4-year term by doing that. And that's something that is done through the county schools office, and so he will be seated as the 3rd board member in January. So that's exciting. Peter has a lot of experience being a board member. He is nothing against the members that are here, but he is the one that has the most experience regarding school budgets as far as board members go. So I'm excited to have him on board, and I think he's going to be a good addition to the governing board. I also wanted to mention we had it was nice this morning, some normalcy, and we celebrated our teachers and staff members of the month, and that was nice. You know, it was, I think the teachers truly appreciated it. We had some tears, we had lots of smiles, and so it was exciting to get out there and honor our teachers and staff members for what they're doing, and again, brings a little bit of normalcy to a time that's not so normal. So I wanted to recognize our teachers and staff members of the month. At Territorial, our teacher of the month is Shannon Feipel. Our staff member of the month is Mo Guffey, who works her guts out as the school secretary there. And I'm going to mention also Mike Schoenfeld, who served as our district employee of the month, or staff member of the month. He just happens to be at Territorial, so we got to honor him. He is the district employee of the month. At Del Rio School, we have Cheryl St. Charles. We also, is the teacher of the month. Our staff member of the month is April Morgan. At Heritage Middle School, our teacher of the month is Pearl Turley, and our staff member of the month is Don Varela. And at the high school, our teacher of the month is Dan Eisenberg, and our staff member of the month is Edie Holbert. So we're excited. Every single name on here, high quality person doing a fantastic job for the district, doing a fantastic job for the kids at Chino Valley and Paulden to help educate them. Super excited to honor them for what they're doing. So I want to give a huge shout out. Their names will show up hopefully in the paper. It's going to be sent to the paper. Hopefully it'll show up. And then in addition, it will show up on the district Facebook page. So we're excited. We also, what's neat was we had our new contract public information officer there. So he took lots of pictures. He'll be writing things up, sending things out. So we'll make sure that we get that information out to honor those people. And this going to the memorandum, we do have a COVID-19 update. The metrics are in the moderate risk range for 2 of the 3 benchmarks. And while the third has dipped into the minimal risk range, and that is the percent hospitalizations due to COVID, is now in the minimal risk. The percent positive on the PCR tests and the number of cases are still in the moderate risk range. This is exactly where we need to be in order to start the hybrid instruction that you authorized to start next Tuesday. So we're excited about it. We're excited to have kids on campus. I think there's a lot of parents excited to have their kids on campus. Granted, it's only 2 days a week for most kids, but it's a start. And we're still hopefully on track to start the all in person on the October 19th, but we'll have a board meeting and I'll update you on that between now and then. Rebecca did submitted a grant application, and I talked a little bit about that in the bottom of the next section, for what's called the Enrollment Stabilization Grant. As part of that, there's a calculation that the costs associated with COVID, and there's other costs that we'll talk about, but just the stuff that we're gonna buy and the time it takes is gonna cost us about $700,000, the district. Now we do have, we did get $450,000 in what's called ESSER money, which is CARES money, from, it was through the state, but came from the federal government. We got about $150,000 from the Forest Fees Management Association, which was to help cover technology costs. And then in addition, there is what's called DEMA, which is the Department of Emergency and Military Affairs. And that is basically the state's version of FEMA. And we're hoping to get some grant money from them to help cover these costs. But that's only half the story, and I'll talk about the second half of the story in just a second. But that $700,000 is about half of what we expect it could cost the district. The second part is our enrollment. So as of yesterday, our 40th day ADM projection is 2,072 ADM. Now that's not necessarily students, because if you remember, kinders only count half, preschoolers only count half, things like that. Last year, our 40th day was 2,218 ADM. That is a decrease of 146 ADM. I plugged that into our formula for calculating revenue, and that equates to a decrease of $756,000. So, that's the other half of the hit, is the $756,000 hit to revenue. Now, that's where the enrollment stabilization grant is going to help. We should be able to get most of that back, hopefully, through the enrollment stabilization grant, which is another form of CARES money that the governor has access to. So that application was due today, it was turned in yesterday. Rebecca worked her guts out on it, did a great job on it. So we're hoping to find out at least some preliminary approval on what we submitted. We won't know the amount until after our 40th day, which is on the last half of October. So.
Then because how much was the grant going to be for approximately?
We
Or it
don't know
depends?
yet.
Oh, that's right.
We don't know yet.
And then if there's any other discrepancies, we'd be able to make it up how?
Well, we have carry forward,
Okay,
so that's gonna help out.
okay,
And things could get tight, and that's the other issue.
okay.
I think there was, about $400,000 in carry forward? Was that the approximate number? So that's basically our buffer.
I see.
That $700,000 is some future expenses that we haven't expended yet also. Things can come up that we don't know about, but based on what we know, that $700,000 is what we've expended already, and what we plan to spend in the future. The other thing that can happen is, our 40th day could be hit hard because of what's happening to enrollment between now and the 40th day. If we come back in person, those kids may come back. We may capture those kids, and it would help us on our final regular budget without the overall loss of ADM. And so we could end up close to what we were last year. It kind of depends on what happens and what happens with COVID, how people feel about sending their kids back to school and things like that. So most of the 146 is at tech, and particularly in kinder. We are down 80 bodies in the kindergarten classroom. We have about 100. Last year we were about 180. Okay. And then Del Rio is down 52. Heritage is only down 7, and the high school is only down 24. So most of the loss of that 149 is at the K-5 level. Some exciting news that we learned yesterday. We had talked about, every meeting we seem to talk about feeding kids and how important it is to feed kids during this time. We received information from the from the feds, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, that they are extending these summer feeding program waivers. What that means for our kids, we're still kind of working through it, but at least initially what we think is that all our students, whether they are free, reduced, or full pay, will get a free breakfast and a free lunch. So that's exciting because that's gonna make sure kids don't have to worry about paying for that meal that their parents may or may not have money for. The things that we are concerned about are, do we have to only give food for 4 days, or can we give food for 7 days? And then we were talking today about how do we get the food out to the kids. So that's some of the things that we are still learning about, and I believe that there's a webinar on Thursday that Lori Smith, our food service coordinator, is going to be attending, and she should get some answers then. But the initial information is exciting, that we'll be able to feed our kids for free. And then on the back of the memo, I'm going to give a little disclaimer to start. I'm going to talk about Proposition 208. I'm telling you how to vote, and I'm not telling the public how to vote on the back side. Oh, you don't have it. There you go. However, do you not have it either? Okay. So it was on the back of the memo sheet. And so anyway. So if you could just maybe read it, pass it around.
Okay.
I'm not telling you how to vote on a proposition, because I can't. The district can't. What I'm going to do is give you some facts about the proposition. So Prop 208 is the Invest in Ed proposition. It will be on the November 3rd ballot. What it is, it was actually, there was a challenge to the proposition, and it was originally Lower court said it should not be on the ballot. It went to the Arizona Supreme Court and they said it should be on the ballot. So that's as far as it can go. It's gonna be on the ballot. And it's gonna be on as Prop 208. What it is it is an additional tax of 3.5% for people that make, it is a tax, let me put this correctly. It is taxed for a single person on the income that they earn over $250,000. So if a person earns $250,000 or $251,000, they would pay $35 in tax, just on that $1,000 over the $250,000. And then it is 3.5% tax on earnings over $500,000 for a couple filing jointly. So if somebody earns $501,000, it'd be $35 just on that $1,000 over $500,000. The money has four purposes. One is for salaries of teachers and other classroom personnel. One is for salaries or to hire people for student support positions. That would be like nurses and counselors, those that work with students to help them get through school successfully. One is to retain and train teachers, to keep them in schools and hire teachers. And the fourth purpose that we would have is for career and technical education expenses. There is a fifth one that the state would do, which is to fund the Arizona Teacher Academy, to make sure that we have, to help with the teacher shortage. So that's what the proposition would do and what the proposition would be used for. I recommend that people do their own research and find out exactly what it is and make their own decision on whether they should vote for it or not. But those are the facts associated with Prop 208. Our lobbyist sent out an email to us and told us that it would be, our impact would be about 1.6 to $1.7 million in additional revenue for the four purposes that I just discussed. And I believe that's it as far as my report goes, unless there's any questions.
No, any questions?
Any questions, Annie?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Great. And moving on, we'll go to item 6B1, financial reports. Rebecca?
Okay, so August, we were still working in 2 months, so I have both fiscal years to present. So for fiscal year 1920, it looks like we're ending our M&O budget at 5.48%. So the carryover is actually a little more than the 400,000. Capital, we're ending in 10.21%, and adjacent ways is 95.8%. For the current fiscal year, right now we're at 3.59% in M&O, 7.39% in capital, and 60.82% in adjacent ways.
Do we still have bills outstanding for adjacent ways?
Yes.
So that 60% will probably go down significantly?
No, the 60% is what we have after we've encumbered what we owe to the
Oh,
town.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so, yep.
So are you saying that this is the carryover?
The 808,000?
Yep.
Okay.
So with that ADM, we should be.
Correct, and it really depends on what the stabilization grant comes out to be.
Okay.
But the stabilization grant should be, I won't say cover all, but most of that ADM loss.
And I think we already accounted for part of that carryover, I think maybe 400,000, so, that we've already accounted for in our budget in the current year.
Okay,
So-
okay.
Yeah, because we didn't realize the carryover was gonna be so high. So,
That's good.
Not a bad problem to have.
No, especially in today's world.
Any questions? All right, item 7A through F is our consent agenda. If someone would like to make a motion, since this is an action item, to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. Item 8A, another action item. This is the approval of our personnel report.
There is a supplement, so please make sure you get both. The supplement's actually longer than the original one. We added a bunch of coaches, that is what has to do with it. We have, it looks like 6 new classified. We have a couple resignations. We have 3 classified changes, a new classified sub, and looks like 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 coaches.
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel report with the supplement.
Great. Any other questions?
I have a question on the supplement number 6.
Uh-huh.
Is she coming back?
She left, her
Okay.
position was never filled, and now she's coming back to fill her position at the same rate of pay and everything.
Okay.
So without any other questions, I'm sorry, Annie? Okay,
I don't have any questions.
all right, there's still a motion on the floor, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Item 9A, selection of our ASBA delegate.
All right, there's actually, this job will do 2 things. And I think Annie has been to doing some of this. At the law conference that is supposed to take place next week, which is not taking place in person, it's actually taking place virtually. At the end of the week, they had a delegate that approved the legislative agenda for ASBA. There is also another job that this delegate would do, and then there's going to be a 3rd job that we'll talk, I think it's in the next agenda item, that would help choose the board members for the ASBA at the December meeting. It has not been decided whether the December meeting is going to take place or not. The September meeting will take place virtually, so it's not something that you would need to go to. So, Annie, I don't know if you want to describe, I know the experience was a little bit interesting when you did your delegate. This is a different experience because you're not in person, but you want to kind of maybe share what that was?
Yeah, I did, this is the one that I went to, right, where we, was after the first conference.
The law
Is that what
conference.
you're talking about?
Correct.
Yeah, gosh, it's been a title. I know it was really interesting. Well, there was a lot of back and forth, going, hearing everybody's different opinions on everything, and then voting, even the wording, there's lots of people that had different opinions on the way that things should be worded. So, definitely different. If we don't have anyone that is doing it virtually, I guess I would do it.
All in favor of
Got it. You're done.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Well, I don't think it would be fair since I'm not gonna be here next year to take that job on.
Well, and I guess we should ask, is anyone, do you have to register for the conference? Is
Actually,
anyone
you don't need to
registered
register for the
it?
conference, Karen.
It's a virtual, and yes, I have to do that first thing tomorrow.
Not for the whole conference, just for that one
Just
event.
Delegate, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So tell Karen I'll do it. She can just tell me then what I need to do.
So unfortunately, it is an action item and we have to vote you in, Annie. So,
Oh, great. Okay.
so if someone wanted to make the motion to have Annie be our delegate, that'd be fantastic.
I'll make the motion to select Annie Mortensen as our delegate for the ASBA.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Of course you would do that, Robert.
Are you an aye, Annie?
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. You'd hate for you to vote against you.
Yeah, good.
All right, thank you. Item 9B is proposed 2021 political agenda and delegate assembly process.
So this is actually the information that she would vote on. It's not a whole lot of different than what it has been in the past. Maximize state funding for competitive salaries to attract, recruit, and retain teachers. There's a revision requested for the school finance formula, fully fund full-day K, advocate to preserve and protect the voters' intent of Prop 301, index district additional assistance for inflation, provide funding for new space, so that has to do with ASBA, eliminate unfunded mandates and administrative burdens, return DSEG funds to the primary tax levy, and actually that's about as far as I probably want to say because there's a lot more.
Okay.
But it was in the agenda, and this is something that, again, hasn't changed a whole lot since you went through this process last year.
Is this an action item? Do we need to make the decision this evening?
You do,
Okay, okay.
because actually I believe that the event is next weekend, or like in a week and a half.
All right, well, does anyone feel really strongly on any of these that you would like to put forward as like the very first, or is this the one that we
I
make
think
a
you just
couple of
approved the
choices?
whole thing
Yeah.
together.
Fantastic, even better.
You want me to make a motion?
Yes, that'd be great.
Approve the Arizona School Boards Association's draft 2021 political agenda.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
I'm sorry, I thought it was the one that we chose like four and sent
Yeah,
them on
I
their
think
merry
you just
way.
do the whole thing.
Okay. All right, item 9C is Yavapai County delegate now.
So the last one was for the ASBA statewide stuff. This is for the countywide selection of a county director. So what happens is whoever is selected to be the delegate, this is actually, there's going to be a county meeting, and the county meeting is on October 28th. It has already been said that it's going to be a virtual meeting. So at that meeting, there will be an election to determine who in Yavapai County, and it has to be another school board member, will serve as the county director, and they actually serve on the ASBA board. And so the only thing this person does is represent the Chino Valley Governing Board in the selection of that person. They are not on the ASBA board. So that's what this delegate does.
oh, well, I'm pretty sure I guess I'll volunteer for this one too.
So we can volunteer Penny.
Ah. Well, would anyone like to nominate someone to be our delegate, and then we can have a motion and vote for him?
Well, I think Penny is a good choice because she's gonna be here.
However, Annie kind of sounds like she wants to do it, so we could give her the
Well,
opportunity.
I'm just a team player, so I'll just take one for the team, is what I was thinking.
I'm good with that.
Okay,
Andy it is.
would you like to make that motion?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve Andy Mortensen as our voting delegate for the county board meeting, ASBA county board.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright.
You're
Once
it.
again, you're it.
Thank you, Annie.
Yeah.
That was with enthusiasm.
Yes, thank you.
Item 10A, CVHS English Learner Recommendation. Cindy?
Okay, so the district is asking for approval from the governing board to allow us to have our high school English language learner students attend all 4 days a week during hybrid, rather than just their 2 assigned days during hybrid. And Ms. Karate, who is the district EL coordinator, and Principal Heidi Wolf and I have met a few times about this. And our rationale for making the request is our high school EL students are really struggling with the at-home portion of instruction due to language barriers. And it's particularly important for the high school kids because the high school kids are seeking credits for their classes and trying to graduate. And so what we figured out was about half the kids attend hybrid on Monday, Wednesday, about half attend on Tuesday, Thursday from our language learner group at the high school, which would mean that Ms. Karate would have the other half of those kids on the opposite days. So it would always be a pretty small group of kids. At the most, you might have 7 or 8 kids each of those days, but it would allow her not only to provide the instruction for the students in English language acquisition, but it would allow her to help the students with their other coursework because they're struggling with things like their math or their history or whatever. And one of the things that really put this on our radar was the number of teachers reaching out to her because the students were having so much difficulty. The other thing that I just wanted to note was that many of our students who come from Spanish-speaking homes haven't been speaking English since they haven't been in school. And so it's created, they've lost some of their language skills, so it's created an additional barrier for them. So we're asking that those students be allowed to attend 4 days a week during hybrid, 2 during their normal hybrid schedule, 2 for assistance with language skill remediation, and that they also be allowed to ride district transportation all 4 days.
Any questions? All right, this is an action item. Would anyone like to make a motion, please, to approve item 10?
I'll make it, I move for the approval of Chino Valley High School EL students to attend 4 days per week during hybrid instruction, and approval for Chino Valley High School EL students to ride district transportation to and from school each day during hybrid instruction.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Thank you. Item 10B, revised hybrid instruction
So
scenario.
the actual information that's related to this is behind the next item, which is the hybrid instructional model scenario 2. So back in July, the board approved the 3 scenarios for instruction. One was all in person, the other was at-home learning, and the one that we're about to enter is the hybrid instruction where kids go to school 2 days a week. Well, since then, a couple things have changed that I wanted the board to know and to approve in the new model. One is that originally the face masks were going to be recommended. Since that time that this was approved, the governor came out with the mask mandate as part of an executive order. And so instead of saying recommended, it now says face coverings are required per executive order. The next one is that the scenario stated no after-school in-person activities were to be allowed. After-school activities would be held virtually whenever possible. However, district staff believes that limited in-person after-school activities can take place in a safe manner when virtual gatherings are not feasible. A couple examples. One that happened a couple weeks ago, and I think we talked about it. They were trying to bale hay at the farm. We needed some helpers from FFA to kind of come and help bale the hay. Another is coming up next weekend. We have people that are going to shuck corn for the corn dinner. We need people to do that, and if it's done with masks, with social distancing, with hand hygiene, things like that, we think it can be done in a safe manner. And so we're asking that instead of no after-school in-person activities, it's be changed to limited. So it's not something that we'll do all the time, but when we feel we can do it safely. And it's more than just a normal meeting, it's more of a necessity that we could have these limited meetings. And the last one said that there would not be any CVHS athletics, or actually no athletics, period. Grades 6 through 8 athletics have been canceled. But what we'd like to do is leave CVHS athletics to follow the AIA guidelines. And so the AIA will determine if there's athletics or not. And we have been following that so far as the preseason training. And so we'd like to change that to be, for the season, the AIA would determine if we're to have sports or not. Those are the 3 changes. Everything else on there remained the same, and so wanted to bring it to you for approval.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, I have a couple questions.
The executive order said that the mask would be required until the Arizona Department of Health Services said that it was okay to no longer wear masks. So it would be up to the Department of Health Services to do that, but there is that mechanism, yes.
Okay, and then my other question is, has the AIA made a decision about sports yet?
I know that the executive board met with the Sports Medicine Advisory Council yesterday, and they are set to meet tomorrow to determine what's gonna happen for the season.
Okay,
And so we will know more tomorrow. Some of our athletics have already started. They started, actually, some earlier this week. And football is expected to start on, well, they say Monday, but I imagine it's gonna be Tuesday. I think it was September 7th originally.
They
But
have
it's-
to have their physicals done by the 7th.
Yeah, which is a holiday.
Yeah.
So, that's the plan right now. We're going forward as if sports, athletics are gonna continue. But again, it's gonna be up to the AIA, and we should know more by the end of the day tomorrow.
okay, okay.
Any other questions? All right, we need a motion, please, to approve the hybrid instruction model.
I'll make a motion to approve the hybrid instruction model scenario 2 revisions.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, agenda item 10C, beginning of preschool instruction.
This was my fault. When we talked about starting hybrid instruction at the last board meeting, or the last special board meeting, we left off kind of what the plan was for preschool. So in a normal time, preschool goes to school 4 days a week, and for half day. So the 3-year-olds will go in the morning, and the 4-year-olds will go in the afternoon. We would like to keep that. Since they are only going half day, we would like to keep them 4 days a week, half day. Their territorial has added a classroom to give more space. We also feel like we have the people to do that. And so what the plan would be, again, would be offer regular instruction 4 days a week. And it says September 1st, but that's actually September 8th,
Okay.
which would be on Tuesday for preschool at Territorial Early Childhood Center. We believe we can do it safely. I do want to mention that our mask requirements do not apply to preschool kids. So the 3 and 4-year-olds would not be required to wear masks. However, the adults in the room would.
But it does make kindergartners do,
It's from kinder through 12th grade, that is correct.
okay. That's gonna be really hard to keep a mask on a 5-year-old.
I don't doubt, I completely agree with you. They're gonna be chewing on it, they're gonna be pulling at it, I don't disagree with that at all. But that's what the executive order called for.
Right.
All right, well, this also is an action item, so we will need a motion to approve the preschool instruction.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular instruction of preschool to begin 4 days a week on September 8th, 2020 for preschool at Territorial Early Childhood Center.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Agenda item 11A, suspension of policy BGB for the period of time the board addresses 11B.
And that was a correction, Dr. Bowen, that was made prior to your writing. It's actually 11B, not 10B.
Okay.
So the next item has to do with sexual harassment, a sexual harassment regulation, along with Title IX sexual harassment and regulation. That needs to be implemented basically ASAP. And in order to do that, typically, if you recall, for most policies, it requires 2 readings. So there's the first reading that no action is taken, and then a month later you come back and take a reading, and then also that the second reading, you vote on it. And changes can be made in between if there's requested changes, things like that. What you are doing is suspending the rule that says that you need 2 readings, and can be done in 1 reading. And so that's all this is doing, is saying, for the next item, we only have to do 1 reading, and we can approve it at one meeting and be done with it, and then it becomes policy.
All right, any questions on that? Does that make sense? Okay, so this also is an action item, and we will need a motion to,
You do need a motion, even though it says information
okay,
only, yeah.
I think it needs a
Yeah,
motion. We
it
do need a
does.
motion to suspend policy BGB, just for this one.
So I'll make a motion for the suspension of policy BGB for the period of time the board addresses item 11B.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So now on to 11B,
Correct.
which is the policy regarding sexual harassment.
Correct. There is, so we've always had a sexual harassment policy. We actually discussed this when we discussed the general harassment policy. So, however, there, if you can see, there are some changes. They took some stuff out of the regulation, and then they, let me get in there, they took a significant amount out in the policy as well, but that's because they added the Title IX sexual harassment policy, which is a brand new policy and a brand new regulation.
All right. Does anyone have any questions, comments, want to discuss this whatsoever?
And these are required as part of federal regulations, not necessarily state law, like we normally have to deal with.
Anything?
No questions here.
Okay, so again, this is an action item. We will need a motion to approve this policy.
I'll make the motion for approval of the policy ACA-sexual harassment regulation ACA-R, policy ACAA, Title IX, sexual harassment and regulation ACAA-R.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda item 11C is our second reading of policy IHA
And policy KB.
and policy KB.
So if you recall, policy IHA is the one that requires, I believe it's on September 25th, each year to be observed as Sandra Day O'Connor Civic Celebration Day. And it's not a legal holiday, but each public school shall dedicate the majority of the school day to civics education. And then if it's on a weekend, you do it either the day before or the day after. Then policy KB, parent involvement, involves adding a parent's, I believe it's a parent's rights parent's rights booklet to the district website.
And that's something easily attainable.
Oh, it's on the Department of Education website, and we would get it from there. And then we would put it on our website on a page that has all the other required postings that we're supposed to have.
Perfect. Any other questions on either of these policies? Any comments? Great. Can I have a motion, please, for the approval of the second reading of policy IHA and policy KB?
I'll make a motion for approval of the second reading of policy IHA, basic instructional program, and policy KB, parental involvement in education.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anything else from anybody? All right. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Annie, for calling in.